If you've been keeping up with the company, you'll notice that they put a strong emphasis on protecting their user data, citing Apple privacy as one of their core values. And it's not just something they claim, either the company has a track record of implementing changes that are all about protecting their users' data in every way possible. But why is that the case? Why does Apple put privacy first in every possible scenario? Apple co-founder Steve Jobs understood what people wanted. His insistence on making hard things easier, for instance, using a personal computer, was an essential part of the Apple success story. Apple CEO Tim Cook has been doing the same thing, but now the quote-unquote hard thing is privacy and encryption. Apple has consistently earned top marks for its privacy and data security policies. That said, since the San Bernardino, California shooting, which left 14 dead and 22 seriously injured, the company's privacy-first approach has been experiencing a sort of baptism by fire. This is all quite different from Google or Facebook, which collect and store massive amounts of identifiable data as part of their core businesses. It also separates Apple from Microsoft, which places the needs of enterprise customers ahead of consumers under the assumption that the enterprise is the owner of the technology, a rapidly declining trend. Lastly, it increases the trust a consumer has not only in their hardware, but the applications running on it. Tim Cook delivered the keynote speech at the International Conference of Data Protection and Privacy Commissioners on Wednesday, 24th of October 2018. It's significant because Apple, as a matter of company policy, believes privacy is a fundamental human right. From Tim Cook at the very top to engineers on the front line, this belief permeates Apple and drives the company's product development process every bit as much as the technology itself. This belief permeates Apple and drives the company's product development process every bit as much as the technology itself. As much as Apple is designing for experience and for accessibility, the company is also designed for security and privacy. Apple makes its money selling hardware to consumers. All of its software and services are predominantly there to drive hardware and, to a lesser extent, media sales. The consumer is the customer, not advertisers or enterprises. The only other companies in a similar position, such as Sony, lack the strength, software, and ecosystems to truly compete. Apple also clearly sees nothing to gain in designing systems that support government snooping, though it will be interesting to see how that works as it extends its services into China and other nations where domestic monitoring is legally mandated. Even though this isn't the first time we're witnessing Apple's strong commitment to protecting user data, it's a prime example of just how dedicated they are. The entire feud between Apple and the U.S. Federal Bureau of Investigation began when a federal judge asked Apple to help the Bureau with unlocking an iPhone which belonged to the shooter responsible for the San Bernardino killings. iPhones are made to make any and all data inaccessible after 10 unsuccessful password attempts, which is what the FBI wanted help bypassing. However, Apple declined to help. It was Chief Executive Tim Cook's statement that claimed that to help the FBI, Apple engineers would need to write software that would be capable of unlocking hundreds of millions of devices. And his argument that if they provided the FBI with such software for that one device, there's absolutely nothing preventing the Bureau from using that same software to unlock just about any other iPhone device. And even though the law enforcement agencies insisted that it was a one-off situation, Apple stood its ground, which is why the case went to court. The entire situation was one of the most high-profile feuds when it comes to encryption and data privacy, and it made headlines. Both consumers and privacy advocates all supported Apple, claiming that creating a single backdoor to the operating system would make every device that uses that operating system vulnerable, which is a major hit to iOS security. Eventually, while the case was still being dragged through the courts, the FBI claimed that they had hired a third party that was able to successfully unlock the device. While reports suggested that the third party in question is Celebrite, an Israeli digital forensics company, the company refused to confirm anything. The examples above are extreme, and safeguards no doubt exist, to try and prevent such exploits. But this isn't FUD. Google has stolen Wi-Fi data in the past. It has exposed the location of victims to abusers. Uber has tracked people without their knowledge. Government agency contractors have snooped outside the bounds of law and morality. This is a real valid concern. The only way to absolutely prevent the abuse and disclosure of personal data is to not store that data. Google, Facebook, and other large data harvesting companies simply can't do that, but Apple can. Apple, because of its own business model, has no need to persist our data, our behavior, and our relationships on its servers. What's more, by virtue of the company's belief in privacy and security, it wants no part of our data. Instead, it collects no data if it absolutely doesn't have to. It only collects the minimum amount of data possible when it does have to, anonymizes, and doesn't associate that data with any user accounts unless it absolutely has to, encrypts the data end-to-end during any and all transmissions of that data, and then keeps the data only as long as it absolutely has to. The issues of safety and security, and by extension, privacy, provoke visceral emotions in people. Apple has always tried to build an emotional connection with its devices and customers. With its increasing focus on privacy, it's clear that Apple not only sees privacy as important to maintaining this bond, but also as a means of differentiating itself from the competition. For a variety of business and technical reasons, it's an advantage that'll be hard for Apple's competition to duplicate. If you take a look at some of the world's largest technology companies, such as Facebook and Google, you'll notice a trend that they make insane income from selling customer data and pushing ads to their customers. To make matters worse, this trend seemingly grows because now we have a vast variety of other companies who do the same, following in the footsteps of Google and Facebook, and consumers hate it. And we get it. Nobody wants their data to be sold to third-party companies. But both Google and Facebook enjoy that business model, and the chances of that changing anytime soon are rather slim. On the other hand, Apple has a bit of a different business model. Their main focus is on selling hardware, and that's where the majority of their profit comes from. Yes, they do bundle excellent software and operating systems with their hardware, but in most cases, the hardware is what brings in the profits. Take features like Siri and Faces in Photo Sync. For years, Apple stuck to on-device data because, by definition, it's more private and secure. But it's not more convenient, especially when you have to retrain Siri or re-identify photos every time you switch devices. So now, Apple is doing secure private sync between devices. It's different from typical syncs where the single truth lives on the server and all your devices sync to that truth. That leaves the truth exposed and vulnerable on the server. Apple's implementation encrypts the data end-to-end and then moves to transit it via a secure version of CloudKit, the infrastructure behind iCloud. Back in January, or more precisely on January 28th, which is known as Data Privacy Day, Apple announced a major change that's coming to iOS app tracking transparency, and it plays a major role within Apple privacy. It wasn't the company's only effort in the recent past. There's also the privacy information section that's been added to the App Store product pages, which requires all apps to showcase a summary of their developers' privacy practices. This is standardized, easy-to-find information that shows users who might download the app how their data is used. Even if the data isn't linked to the users themselves, the apps are required to explicitly mention this. But app tracking transparency is a big one because it'll require each app a user installs to get permission for any kind of data tracking. When a user heads to the settings menu, they'll be able to see which apps have requested permissions and either allow data tracking or not. Apple is deliberately sacrificing expediency for privacy. From Apple's point of view, privacy is inextricably linked to making the product great, and the company will take time to make what it believes are great products. That frustrates some, but it comforts others. And that's all we have for you guys today. Hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, hit the bell icon for more updates and notifications. Stay safe, and we'll be back soon with another video. Bye now.